Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to the Week 11 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. Before we get started on our Sunday slate of games, of course, we're going to set the table right here and now, and that is Thursday night, a matchup featuring the New England Patriots squaring off against the Atlanta Falcons at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, on Fox and the NFL Network with Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, and Christina Pink. And, well, let's just say it wasn't as close as Super Bowl 51 was. This was all New England, all the time, 25-0. New England wins the game. And in our fantasy football league that MF and I do with our dear friend Mike Keenan, there's a guy in our fantasy league who has the Patriots defense. He started them and was rewarded handsomely to the tune of 28 points because the Patriots pitched the shutout, recorded 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, and had a defensive touchdown on top of that. 28 points. Just like you remember last week when I dedicated the first few minutes of the show to Michael Fletcher because of what his Miami Dolphins did against the Baltimore Ravens the previous Thursday night? Michael Bullock, front and center. I'm bringing you in right now. You're Patriots, man. Whoa. What was that on Thursday night? That was unbelievable. All I got to say was if that wasn't a 5-star performance, tell me what was.
Yeah, what can you say? I mean, basically that the defense really came to play, and to the tune of 4 picks on the quarterbacks for the Falcons, and yeah, I mean Mac Jones. I mean he did play okay, but it was good enough for to the tune of a 25-point victory and a shutout. So I'm telling you, this is a team right now that's. And I'm telling you, Florio, your Buffalo Bills better not take this Patriots team lightly with the way they're playing right now, and you've yet to face us. So, and if they get to the playoffs, they could be a dark horse team come playoff time. And I know it's still a little too early to talk about the playoffs, but and last year they had 7 wins all of last season, and here it is right now. They're already at 7-4. So, I mean, what would you guys have said that the Patriots at this point would be 7-4, and at the moment tied with the Buffalo Bills for the AFC East lead? What would you guys told me?
I would have said, I don't know. I mean, going into the season, I said that this was Buffalo's division to lose. Even though I honestly thought Miami was going to be the big threat. I thought Miami was going to be breathing down our necks, and I thought New England would maybe have a little bit of a better rebuilding year like they did last year with Cam Newton. You know, last year was a rebuilding year. I never would have thought that New England, they have it for the moment, and they will actually take it if Buffalo loses to Indianapolis tomorrow. But if Buffalo wins, then Buffalo hangs on to that slim margin. And yes, Bullock, in 2 weeks, we meet up. We finally meet up on Monday Night Football, December 6th in Buffalo. So we'll find out how for real you boys are.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I was going to get to. To me, I think these next 2 games heading into the bye week for the Patriots, I think it's what's going to make or break this team.
Tennessee next week.
Because you got you got Tennessee next week, and then your Bills before they head into the bye week. So this is going to be the time that this is really going to test this team. Will they be up for the challenge? Absolutely. Will they get it done? That remains to be seen. Because Tennessee and Buffalo are no slouches. So, yeah, to me, like I said, these next 2 games before the bye week is what's going to make or break this team. So, nice win for the Patriots, shutting out this Atlanta Falcons team. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So, It's onward, Florio.
Yes, sir. So I figured it was only fair that I give Bullock that opening bit of time like I did for MF last week for his Dolphins when they dominated the Baltimore Ravens the previous Thursday night. So yes, the Patriots improved to 7-4, but next week, the first of those two murderers row games back to back, they welcome the Tennessee Titans into Gillette Stadium, a game that MF and I, that's going to be the Tony and Mikey game of the week next week in Foxborough, Tennessee and New England. What a game that's going to be. So, and then from there,
And we all know, Florio, the last time these two met.
What's that, Bullock?
And we all know the last time these two met, the Titans and the Patriots.
I believe it was that infamous wild card game, which ended up being Tom Brady's final game.
Yeah, and don't think for a minute that some of those guys that were part of that team, they haven't forgotten about it.
Nope. We'll find out. But have the Tennessee Titans coming in for the AFC game of the week next week. And then from there, the Atlanta Falcons, on the other hand, next week, they will be on the road, and they're going to have a nice bounce back game because they go to Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's going to be a cross flex game, a game that you would normally see on Fox, but it will end up being on our side of the ledger next week. So definitely one of the zonk games of the week next week. So we'll see what happens. Two teams on bye this week. Those two teams being the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Rams. So with all that being said, let's get into the action. And speaking of the aforementioned Tony and Mikey game of the week, we're kicking off with it. Here we go. Game of the week on our side of the ledger. It's going to be a renewal of a once great AFC East division rivalry. The Indianapolis Colts squaring off against my Buffalo Bills, Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, Orchard Park, New York, on the mothership, CBS. And on the call for that one, it'll be Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins. Buffalo opening up as a 7-point favorite. Last year, of course, they met in that AFC wildcard game, Buffalo winning it 27-24. Last regular season meeting was 2018 in Indianapolis. It was all Indy, 37-5 beatdown. Last meeting in Buffalo, 2017. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a damn near blizzard in Buffalo. Buffalo winning 13-7 in overtime. Indianapolis hasn't won in Buffalo since 2003, back when Peyton Manning and Edgerrin James and Marvin Harrison and all those guys were running wild in Indy. But nonetheless, big game here in the AFC, no doubt about that. Game of the week right here. So here we are. You know how we do it. The what to watch for, the bold prediction, the stat to know, what we need to know for fantasy, the betting nugget for all you gamblers out there, the FPI percentage, and, of course, our score predictions. So only fitting I start off. What to watch for. Can the Bills slow down Colts running back Jonathan Taylor? Buffalo's defense has limited opponent backs this season with only one rushing for over 100 yards. That was Tennessee's Derrick Henry. Taylor has the most runs at 10-plus yards in the NFL, while the Bills are tied for the second fewest long rushes allowed. Something has to bend. Overall this season, Buffalo's defense has overwhelmed opponents, averaging 15 points against the game, fewest in the NFL. Stopping Taylor, though, will be a big test. Bold prediction. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz will throw 2 interceptions against Buffalo. He has only 3 interceptions on the season, but the Bills have forced an NFL-high 24 turnovers, including 15 interceptions. Wentz, to his own acknowledgement, is a risk taker when it comes to trying to make plays happen. The Bills, unlike other teams in the league, will make Wentz pay for taking those chances. Stat to know, the Bills have outscored opponents by 145 points this season, and the best point differential through 10 games in franchise history is plus 138 in 1990. Oh, by the way, they went to the Super Bowl that year. They currently rank second in points per game, 31.1, and first in points allowed a game at 15, meaning they could become the first team since Bullock's infamous undefeated 2007 New England Patriots to lead the NFL in both scoring offense and scoring defense in week 11 or later. For fantasy, Buffalo receiver Stephon Diggs has been a top 30 wide receiver in all 3 weeks following Buffalo's bye, and at least one of his teammates has joined him each week. The betting nugget, Indianapolis has covered each of its past 3 games as a road underdog, but Buffalo is an overwhelming FPI favorite, 76.3% going with Buffalo, 76% for Buffalo. Of course, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, but the thing is, it's going to be a close game. And you know what? I'm going to go with the same score as the wild card game last year. 27-24, the Buffalo Bills hold off the Indianapolis Colts, a game Indianapolis Colts team, in our game of the week on our side of the ledger. So now I'm going to bring in the Phil Sims to my Jim Nance, the one and only good old MF Michael Fletcher. MF, a renewal of a once great division rivalry that we called many of back in the 90s when we were doing AFC East only games. What a great matchup here. Definitely has a playoff type feel in this one. So not much more for me to say except do that thing I like. Hello, friends.
Yeah, hello everybody. No, you're absolutely right, Anthony, about a number of things. Number one, Buffalo right now is a team that could really do some damage. If they really played their hearts out, if they really played the right way, they could easily win this one. I think a lot of people was wondering, was Buffalo in big trouble? Were they just, what was going on with the Bills? Well, it looks like their demise is greatly exaggerated because of what they did last week to the Jets. And it can go a number of ways. The Jets, Indy could really do some damage on Buffalo, cause a little trouble. Can they stop the running attack? Can they stop Jonathan Taylor? If they can, then Buffalo should be able to win this one pretty easy without much of a debate. I think that's the best way to say it. At the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I do believe the Buffalo Bills should get the job done. They should win this game. And there's really nothing more to add. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, this Bills team so far up to this point this season has been a little bit of a mystery. They play so well, and then you had that tough loss to the Jags, which they should have won very easily, but they did bounce back in a big way last week. The question is, can they keep the momentum going? That's going to be the thing I got to see. I think this is going to be a close one. It's just going to be like that wild card game. I got to go with the Buffalo Bills here. I think they're the much better team here. So, there's really nothing more to say. It's on to the next game for you.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but I might have forgot to mention Buffalo leads that all-time series 37-32 with a tie. So that's all there is to say on that. All right, moving on to our next matchup, we go over to the other side of the ledger, the NFC side of the ledger. In a bit of a reunion, if you will, as it will be the Washington football team squaring off against the Carolina Panthers from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. And this one will be over on Fox, of course. And on that call, it will be Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, and Laura Oakman. And it is Carolina opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. Washington leads the all-time series 9-7. Carolina won the last meeting last year, 2020. They won 20-13 in Washington. Last meeting in Charlotte was the year before, 2019. Washington won 29-21. The Panthers last beat Washington at home in 2015. That was a 44-16 final. So, MF, a reunion of sorts. Cam Newton will be facing off against his former coach, Ron Rivera. Those glory years in Carolina, including that 2015 season where they went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl, only to lose to Denver. But MF, Cam Newton, he returned to Carolina, and oh boy, did he make a great first impression upon his return, going into Arizona, kicking the door down, making himself at home, and saying, "I'm back."
Yeah, but here's the thing: there was no Kyler Murray. That's a misnomer. That I wouldn't even take any credibility to that. Don't read what you will about the performance. Even though Cam Newton tore the house down, he was amazing. PJ Walker was the other backup in that. He did pretty well for himself. Carolina just basically kicked the door down on Arizona. But the thing was, Arizona did not have their biggest weapons. DeAndre Hopkins out with injury. Kyler Murray out with injury. J.J. Watt out with injury, done for the season. So you got three heavy players, three big bullets that's normally in that chamber of that gun that's known as the Arizona Cardinals. They didn't have those bullets with them. So obviously that was a Carolina win. That was no. Don't no. Michael Bullock, that's not a fluke win. No. What it was it was a dominating win, but they didn't have all their weapons. Now, talking about guys who didn't have major weapons and everything else, that was the Washington football team, and they just rolled up and took out the reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their house. That's a bigger story, Anthony Florio. That's something that we should be talking about, is the Washington football team rolled up, took Tom Brady, made him look like a beep, and basically picked him up twice, kicked the door down on them, and beat their rear ends. That's a bigger story that I'd rather talk about. But on to this game. Cam Newton now is officially known as the starter for next week, the starter for this game. On top of that, Christian McCaffrey is fully healthy. He looks good. He looks like he's ready to go. And once they get all this back, once the body of work or the camaraderie of Carolina with Cam and the boys get gelling and everything else, it looked like they gelled immediately. But remember, Cam Newton had very little. I think he was like 5 for 7, 28 yards. He didn't really have that much in passing yards. But remember, he came in on packages. That's why he had the 2 touchdowns, because they were wildcat packages. They gave him a special set of plays, and he executed it flawlessly. That's why he got the 2 touchdowns. So now we're going to see how this plays out. He's fully back, fully as the starter, going up against a Washington football team that defense, yes, unfortunately, they don't have Chase Young, which was their best player. He's out with an injury. He's done for the year. He tore his ACL. That's a horrible injury to have. But Anthony Gibson is going to get some yardage. Tyler Heineke, dude, this kid is the real deal. He's going to be a very dominating player, and I really love what I'm going to see from him down the line. However, this game's in Charlotte. This game's at Bank of America. Normally when the Panthers are at home, they do a lot more better. They do really good. And obviously, with Cam Newton, first game back home since leaving the team to head to New England, the first game back at home, oh my God. You want to talk about the Panther fans ready? They are lit. They have fire. They feel like, hey, this NFC wild card is not out of the realm of possibility. They start stacking a few wins here. We might be talking about the Panthers making the playoffs, and they could be a dangerous out. If Cam Newton is the Cam Newton, if he goes back to Superman, Cam Newton, the MVP, the man that led him all the way to that Super Bowl 50, Florio, Panthers are going to be a problem. And I do believe they will get the job done on Sunday. Give me the Carolina Panthers to win. This will not be a fluke, Michael Bullock, as I give it to you.
Well, the only reason why I said it was a fluke because of those guys that were out for Arizona. That's the Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that's the only reason why I said it. Now, I mean, it was still a good win for them, but yeah, anywho, nothing more to say. I mean, yeah, you know that Panther fan base is going to be fired up to have Cam Newton back at home, and he's going to be the starter. So we'll see how he does as the starter, because we all know how it went in New England with him. It was complete and utter garbage. It was complete and utter trash. And yeah, so we'll wait and see how it goes to see which kind of Cam Newton Carolina's getting. So nothing more to say. Carolina will win this one. Florio, it is yours.
What to watch for? This is all about Panthers quarterback Cam Newton. How much of the game plan has Newton digested since arriving 8 days ago? And what can Washington expect from a player who scored touchdowns on his first 2 of 8 plays against Arizona last week? Washington ranks 27th in yards allowed with 376.5 a game. So you would expect Newton to find success with his dual threat ability and running back Christian McCaffrey playing at a high level. Bold prediction, Washington's defense will hold Newton in check, keeping him under 150 passing yards. He will energize the Panthers and the stadium in his return, but it will be the defense. It will be the Panthers' defense that will be the difference, forcing 2 turnovers for the 4th consecutive game. Stat to know, the Panthers have allowed 29.2% of opponent drives to end in a touchdown or field goal, the second lowest rate in the NFL. Washington's defensive rate is 48.4%, the NFL's 3rd highest. For fantasy, Washington receiver Terry McLaurin hasn't been a top 30 fantasy receiver in 4 of his last 5 games. Betting nugget, Washington quarterback Taylor Heineke is 3-7 against the spread in his career, including the playoffs, and 2 of those 3 covers have come against Tampa Bay. Carolina, the FPI favorite, 62.4%, 62% going with Carolina. I'm going with Carolina to win as well. 24-13, Carolina knocks off Washington. So there isn't much more to say here. So, 24-13, Washington, Carolina beats Washington. So there isn't much more to say. Let's move on to our next matchup. We have the Baltimore. It's the number 5 game on our side of the ledger, as it will feature the Baltimore Ravens squaring off against the Chicago Bears from Soldier Field in Chicago. And on the call for this one, believe it or not, hello, friends. Yep, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, they will be in Chicago for this one. And Baltimore opening up as a 5-point favorite. Chicago, however, leads the all-time series 4-2. Chicago's won each of the last 2 meetings against Baltimore, including their last meeting in Chicago, 2013. Bears won 23-20 in overtime. The Ravens have only won in Chicago once, and that was in 2009. That was a 31-7 beatdown. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, the Bears are a mess. We know that. But the Ravens, how are they going to bounce back? How are they going to bounce back after that humiliating loss to MF's Dolphins last Thursday night?
Well, they need a bounce back win in a big way after that loss to the Miami Dolphins. But here's the thing, guys. I heard that as of right now, Lamar Jackson is listed as questionable for the game because he has an illness. So, but to me, Lamar Jackson or no Lamar Jackson, I still think Baltimore is going to win this one because, like you said, this team is an absolute mess. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of Justin Fields, and let's also remember Khalil Mack, one of their best defensive players, he's done for the season. So, yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. I got Baltimore winning this one. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, let me find it here. All right. What to watch for? It's all about Lamar Jackson versus Justin Fields. The Bears hope Fields can one day emulate Jackson's dominant style of play, and coach Matt Nagy called Jackson special on Wednesday. Fields added that Jackson does things that most other players cannot. With just 4 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, Fields himself remains very much a work in progress. However, the rookie had a strong 4th quarter in Pittsburgh that Nagy thinks can carry over to the Ravens game. The Bears will need Fields to have a tremendous afternoon to knock off Baltimore. Bold prediction, Lamar Jackson will run for 130 yards, which would be the most by a quarterback this season. Jackson has won all 12 of his starts against NFC teams, which is tied for the 2nd longest interconference streak by a quarterback to begin a career. A big reason for that success is how he uses his speed and elusiveness against NFC teams that are facing him for the first time. He's averaging 92.9 yards rushing a game against the NFC. Stat to know, Ravens receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown has 3 100 receiving yard games this season, despite entering the year with just 2 on his career. Another would make him the 4th Ravens wide receiver with 4 such games in a season in franchise history. For fantasy, Fields was a top 10 quarterback in the 2 weeks prior to going on bye last week and faces a Ravens defense that gave up 314 passing yards to the Miami duo of Tua Tagovailoa and Jacoby Brissett last Thursday night. Betting nugget, Chicago has failed to cover in each of its past 7 games following a bye week. FPI going with the Baltimore Ravens, 62.4%. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens to win as well. My final score, 30-20, the Baltimore Ravens over the Chicago Bears. They'll bounce back from that embarrassing loss to MF's Dolphins on that Thursday night a couple weeks ago. So not much more to say. MF, Baltimore, Lamar Jackson or not, how do they bounce back after losing to your Dolphins?
That's going to be a very good question. That's going to be a very, very good question. A lot of people really don't know how it's going to play out. Nobody really knows how it's going to be. I will say this. If Lamar Jackson doesn't play, if he's hurt, that could be very, very, very bad. That could be almost a major problem, to say the very least. But I will say this. I do believe they will get the job done. I do believe that they should bounce back. And I do have the Baltimore Ravens winning this game. Like you guys said, this is going to end up being either a really, really good outcome or this could go terribly wrong. But one thing is for sure, the Ravens, whenever they lose a game like that, they always come back. And they come back stronger after a defeat. I hardly ever remember them ever losing 2 games in a row like that. So, no, I do believe the Ravens will win. And, yeah, there's really nothing more to add. I would be a little more worried if Lamar doesn't go. Then I would be a little concerned. But I do believe they'll get the job done. So, I'm with you, Florio. And I do believe Bullock also agreed that Baltimore was going to win. Ravens should win it. Nothing more to say. Back to you.
Yeah. Just give me 1 second here. Pop-up video came up. All right. Next up on our docket, it will be Fox's Zonk game of the week. Matter of fact, these next 2 games are Zonk games for Fox. Although we have 3 Fox games in a row coming up, but the third one, that's a biggie. But these next 2, started off with the Detroit Lions squaring off against the Cleveland Browns from First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, over on Fox. And on that call, hey, it's Gus Johnson alongside LeVar Arrington and Megan O'Leary. Cleveland opening up as a 12.5-point favorite. Detroit actually leads this series. Believe it or not, guys, this is a one-sided rivalry. Detroit actually leads this series all time. Listen to this. 16-4, if you can believe that. And the Lions have won each of the last 4 meetings with the Browns, including their last meeting in Cleveland, 2013, 31-17. The Browns have not beaten the Lions overall and at home since 2001. That was a 24-14 win. So there isn't much more to say on this. I'll start it off here for the Zonk game of the week on the Fox side. What to watch for? How will Browns running back Nick Chubb look in his return from COVID-19? The virus affected Cleveland's top defensive player, edge rusher Myles Garrett, last year significantly once he returned from the COVID list. But at 5-5, the Browns need their top offensive player to come back at his overpowering self. Bold prediction, Lions running back DeAndre Swift will eclipse the 100-yard rushing mark for the 2nd straight week. With head coach Dan Campbell taking over offensive play-calling responsibilities and the passing game struggling, it only makes sense to feed the hot hand in Swift, who is coming off a career-best 130-yard rushing performance. Swift has proved he can handle the load. Stat to know, Myles Garrett leads the NFL with 13 sacks. The Lions, meanwhile, have allowed 10 sacks over the last 2 games, which is tied for most in the NFL. For fantasy, Swift had 33 carries last week in Pittsburgh, joining Derrick Henry as the only other player with a 30-carry game on his 2021 resume. Be careful in assuming that level of usage is here to stay, however, as he didn't have a game with even 15 carries before that this season. Betting nugget, despite Detroit's winless record, it is 5-4 against the spread this season and 5-1 against the spread when getting at least 4 points. The FPI, of course, going with Cleveland, 76.2%, 76% going with the Cleveland Browns. I'm going with the Cleveland Browns to bounce back. 27-17, Cleveland should get it done over Detroit. Detroit, hey, a tie. But then again, I think we could credit Ben Roethlisberger being out for Pittsburgh, the only reason for that tie. But Cleveland, oh boy.
They got mollywomped. That's the only thing we got to say. Quote my best friend, Kaiser Viersch. They got holiday hammed, and that ham was perfectly cooked by the chef, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots. Michael Bullock, you had nothing to complain about that week. Neither did Derek Ferreira. As a matter of fact, we didn't even hear Ferreira the entire week when it came to the NFL. That was a delicious squash that we saw by the New England Patriots on the Cleveland Browns. That was
the Browns got Rochambeau'd by the Patriots.
Yeah. I kick you in the nuts real hard. You kick me in the nuts real hard. The first one to fall loses. Well, you Rochambeau'd Cleveland to the tune of what? 40-something points? Good.
I think
Lord.
it was 45-7.
Yeah, good Lord, man. What did they do to you guys? Did they owe you milk money or something? Because that's what that looked like. That looked like one of those schoolyard beat downs. Yeah,
no Nick Chubb, and Baker was very rusty, very shaky.
Baker looked horrible. Like you could tell he's definitely nursing some injuries as well. So there's nothing more about that. And if you're and I honestly have to say, if you are definitely I was gonna say, and if you are Detroit, you kind of have a feel like maybe this could be our moment. Well, I hate to say it, but no, it's not. And I honestly believe when it's all said and done, I think Cleveland will bounce back and they'll win this game. But you know what? I'll say it. Give credit where credit's due to Detroit for making it a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because a lot of people thought Pittsburgh was going to get rolled. The thing is that Ben was hurt, and there was also some guys who are dealing with COVID issues, and that was why we almost saw a monumental upset. But I mean, any given Sunday, folks, that's what we always say. And I do believe Cleveland will bounce back. They need a bounce back. They need this game more than any other. They should win it, no problems. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland definitely needs a bounce back win in a big way after getting shellacked big time by the Patriots last week. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Cleveland fan, you must have been embarrassed by that performance. I mean, that was absolutely putrid. But yeah, I mean, gotta give credit to the Lions. I mean, yeah, the Steelers did miss some players, especially Ben Roethlisberger because of COVID. But that was the reason why Detroit hung along and took it to a tie. But I got Cleveland bouncing back in a big way, so there's really nothing more to say. Florio, let's move on.
And for the record, Derek did do recap videos, very positive ones to say the very least. So he was very pleased with the outcome, and as was Bullock, I know. So, all right. Next up, the another Zonk game over on the Fox side of the ledger. We got the San Francisco 49ers squaring off against the Jacksonville Jaguars. TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. That's where we'll be for that one. And Fox will have this one. And on the call for that one will be Chris Myers, Daryl Moose Johnston, and Jennifer Hale. And San Francisco. San Francisco opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. San Francisco leads the all-time series 3-2. Jacksonville won the first 2 games, but the 49ers have won each of the last 3, including a London game in 2013. Both of Jacksonville's wins were in Jacksonville. The last 1999 41-3 beatdown, that was their first ever meeting. 2005, Jacksonville won 10-9, and then it was all San Francisco after that. So there isn't much more to say on this. MF, San Francisco. Whoa, what was that on Monday night? Can you believe what they did to the Rams? Whoa, made the Rams look like a second-rate team.
Yeah, and that, you know what it is? That's that any given game, any given Sunday, any given Monday, the Rams looked off. They brought, they lost Robert Woods due to injury. They brought Odell Beckham Jr., and you can tell the chemistry was not there. Then, for the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo looked good. You had the running game established again. George Kittle looked solid enough. And, of course, Debo. Who? Debo. You run from that bleep. If you've ever seen the movie Next Friday, which used to be Tiny Lester, a.k.a. Zeus from World Wrestling Federation, God rest his soul. That was the guy who played Debo. And what Debo used to be was that bully in the movie that used to take the lunch money, or if you ticked him off, man, he used to give you that right uppercut that made some people say, "You got knocked the bleep out." Well, guess what? That's what happened to the Rams. They got knocked the bleep out on Monday night, and they're gonna do it again to the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, the Jaguars is just a mess. They don't have, you could tell, there's certain moments they look good, but they're so inconsistent. They're so up and down. You don't know what you're going to get week in and week out. I'll say this. If they played like they played against the Buffalo Bills, they can definitely have a legit chance to pull yet another upset. I just don't know if they will or not. My prediction is that the 49ers will win this game on Sunday. Michael Bullock, it is yours.
Yeah, I certainly did not see that performance coming from the San Francisco 49ers against the Rams on Monday night. I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, you got, Robert Woods being done for the season, Odell Beckham Jr. Just starting to know this Rams offense. So, yeah, that 49ers team definitely took advantage of it, and they shocked everybody here. So, yeah, and that Jaguars team is just an absolute mess right now. So, I definitely got the San Francisco 49ers winning this game. So, there's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, it is yours.
Yeah. What to watch for? The Jaguars defense has given up just 22 points in their last 2 games, including holding Buffalo to just a pair of field goals. Still scratching my head on that one. But 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo has an 84.2 total QBR over his last 3 games, the second best mark in NFL. Plus, the 49ers are using receiver Deebo Samuel all over the place, and that's a wild card the Jaguars defense will have to manage. Bold prediction, 49ers tight end George Kittle will go for over 150 receiving yards and score 2 touchdowns. Kittle has scored in 2 straight games, but has yet to reach the end zone multiple times in the same game this season. One moment. All right. Those pop-up videos always mess me up. All right. George Kittle. Yep. Jaguars pass defense has struggled overall, and tight ends have been integral in opponent success. Jacksonville is allowing opposing tight ends to catch 75.8% of targets and average 8.8 yards per attempt, both of which are 29th in the NFL. That's a recipe for Kittle to have a big day. Stat to know, Samuel sits at 979 receiving yards on the year and is seeking to join Jerry Rice as the only 49ers receivers to reach 1,000 receiving yards in the team's first 10 games of a season. Rice did it 4 times. For fantasy, 2. That's the number of tight ends who have more fantasy points over the last 3 weeks than the Jaguars' Dan Arnold, 38.5. Betting nugget, San Francisco has failed to cover in 5 of its last 7 games, and it is 3-6 against the spread this season, the 4th worst cover percentage in the NFL. San Francisco, the FPI favorite, 64.3%, 64%, going with San Francisco. I'm going with San Francisco to win as well. 28-14, San Francisco over Jacksonville. So there isn't much more to say on this. Now we get into another one of our big games of the week, one of the meat and potato games of the week right here. This one's going to be fun. It always is when they get together. The Green Bay Packers squaring off against the Minnesota Vikings, US Bank Stadium, Minneapolis, Minnesota, on Fox. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, Pam Oliver, and Green Bay opening up as only a 1-point favorite. It's a 1-point spread for Green Bay. Even though Green Bay leads the all-time series 62-54 with 3 ties, they split last year. Both teams won on the road, which meant Green Bay won in Minnesota. Matter of fact, Green Bay's won each of the last 2 years in Minnesota, including a wild 43-34 shootout last year. Minnesota hasn't beaten Green Bay at home since 2018. That was a 24-17 final. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, front and center for you. Green Bay, Minnesota, the number 2 game of the week on the Fox side.
Yeah, I mean, this is always a great rivalry in the NFC North. I mean, whenever these two get together, I mean, I think Minnesota can give this team can give Green Bay some fits, but I just think, look, I mean, Green Bay is just too good. I mean, especially with what they did to Seattle last week in Green Bay. So I got the Green Bay Packers winning this one, but like I said, Minnesota will give them fits in the beginning, but I just think in the end, Aaron Rodgers will and the Packers will just put them away. So nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
Absolutely. And what to watch for here? The Mike Zimmer, Aaron Rodgers chess match is always a great schematic battle. 8 of the Vikings' 9 games have been decided by 7 or fewer points, including 6 in a row. And Rodgers has 50 career passing touchdowns to just 7 interceptions against them. Zimmer knows Rodgers has already seen everything he'll get from the Vikings defense, so it'll be a matter of timing and execution from Minnesota to try to contain the Packers quarterback while using the home crowd to its advantage. Bold prediction, Rodgers' streak of touchdown passes, 26 since his last interception against a division opponent, will end tomorrow. He threw an uncharacteristic pick last week against Seattle, and he didn't get the chance to practice much this week to try to recapture his timing. And don't be surprised if it's Minnesota safety Harrison Smith who picks him off. Stat to know, Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins has an NFL best 9.0 touchdown to interception ratio this season. That's 18 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. The Packers are 8-0 when intercepting a pass this season and 0-2 when they don't. For fantasy, the Packers' A.J. Dillon has been a top 20 running back in consecutive weeks and is now set to assume a full workload with Aaron Jones on the shelf. Betting nugget, Green Bay is 9-1 against the spread this season with 9 straight covers. It's the longest cover streak Green Bay has had in the Super Bowl era, and it is tied for the 3rd longest single-season streak. Slight favorite for Green Bay, 54.3%, 54% going with Green Bay. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to win this game. And to no one's surprise, especially for Minnesota, it's going to be another close game, of course. But it's going to be a little lower scoring, I think. 23-20. I'm going with Green Bay to knock off Minnesota, keep their winning ways going, add another tough luck loss to Minnesota, who has been the the tough luck team of this season, hands down. So there isn't much more to say on this. MF, we saw Green Bay last week. A very impressive win over Seattle, 17-0, and Minnesota with a nice win of their own last time out. So Green Bay and Minnesota, always fun when they get together. I'm sure this one will be just as fun as always.
Yeah, just as fun as always. Very interesting matchup, to say the very least. I'm with you guys. I'm gonna go with the Green Bay Packers as well. I think the Packers are gonna, it wasn't their best game, but defensively they're starting to turn it around. I think they finally found their defensive niche. I think that's the best way to say it, and I do believe that they'll get the job done yet again. I think they'll win this game. So yeah, I agree. Give me the Green Bay Packers as well. And Anthony, on to the next one.
Yep, and Minnesota with a nice win in LA last week, beating the Chargers at SoFi. So a very impressive win for Minnesota, and we'll see if they can keep that momentum going. All right, speaking of divisional rivalries, we got another good one here. All these division games this week are first-time matchups, first meetings, if you will. And next up, it will be MF's team, the Miami Dolphins, squaring off against the New York Jets. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the Meadowlands. And this one will be over on CBS, of course. And on the call for that one, it will be, let me find it here. It'll be the legendary Greg Gumbel alongside Adam Archuleta and AJ Ross. Miami opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. And the Jets lead the all-time series by only one game, 55-54, with a tie in favor of the Jets. That one tie was in 1981 in Miami, 28-28 overtime tie. Last year, Miami swept both meetings. Miami swept the season series with the Jets, including winning in New York 20-3 last year. Jets' last home win over the Dolphins was 2019, 22-21. So here we go. Dolphins and Jets, another great AFC East rivalry that MF and I have had many of interactions with over the years. So here we go. What to watch for? The quarterback matchup is Miami's Tua Tagovailoa and his bad finger versus New York's Joe Flacco, who starts for the first time since practically a year ago, November 22nd of last year. Tagovailoa, who missed the past two starts with a fractured finger on his throwing hand, will face a defense that has allowed 175 points in the past 4 games. Flacco, the surprise starter over Mike White, needs to chuck and duck. The Dolphins lead the NFL with a 39% blitz rate, and Flacco doesn't have the wheels to escape. Bold prediction, Miami will eclipse the 100-yard rushing mark for just the third time this season. The Jets own the NFL's second worst run defense in terms of expected points added over the past 3 weeks, minus 11.99. While the Dolphins have been the worst rushing offense in the NFL, 2.5 yards a carry over that span, something has to give, and it's going to be the visiting team. Stat to know, the Jets are the first team since the 1966 New York Giants to allow 45-plus points 3 times in a 4-game span. For fantasy, over the past 4 weeks, the Jets' Michael Carter is RB5 on a per-game basis, averaging 19.1 fantasy points a game, ahead of Pittsburgh's Najee Harris, the LA Chargers' Austin Eckler, and Dallas's Ezekiel Elliott, to name a few. Betting nugget, Miami has covered 6 consecutive games against New York, but it is 1-5 against the spread as a road favorite since the start of the 2017 season. FPI likes Miami, 62.8%, 63%, going with the Miami Dolphins. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins to win this game. My final score, 24-10. The Miami Dolphins keep up their winning ways. They knock off the Jets in the Meadowlands. So not much more to say here. MF, here come your Dolphins now. They've won 2 in a row, beat Houston and Baltimore, both at home. Now you're on the road against the Jets. Do I hear 3? I'm sure I do.
A lot of people are, and a lot of Dolphin fans are starting to think, guys, we might have ourselves a winning streak coming up. And a lot of people are thinking this might be where the schedule starts to open up for the Dolphins that if it's done correctly, we could be at 500 in about a month from now, because it's the Jets, Carolina, where you don't know how that's going to go, the Giants, a bye week, and then the Jets again. Those are possibly 4 winnable games that could get the Dolphins to 7-7 with 3 games left. And the final 3 are the New Orleans Saints. That's no slouch because that's a Monday night game in New Orleans. The Tennessee Titans, no slouch, but no Derrick Henry. That might be, we don't know how that's going to go. And then week 18, the final game of the season against the Patriots in Miami. With the way the Patriots have been playing, with the way the Dolphins, it looks like they're turning the season around now. They're starting to it looks like they finally got their legs underneath them. That could be a playoff preview matchup where that could probably decide who's going to the playoffs. If Miami wins out, though, that's a big question. If they win out and they need a lot of help along the way. But this will be the first start. Miami has been notoriously good in New York, especially in MetLife. You talked about it, Florio, how they've been dominated. They swept last year in New York. And that first game against when they went up against the Jets, Tua was the starter and absolutely dominated. Had a very good game. It looks like he's getting better now. It looks like he's already gotten out of the early swoon that he had. So right now, I like what I see. I think it's been really good right now up to this moment. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think the Dolphins will have enough weapons. Yes, I'm waiting for the running game to step up. All of a sudden, Jalen Waddle is starting to look like that number 6 pick that we were hoping that he was going to be. He's looking good. Gesicki's finally looking good. He's looking like the Pro Bowl tight end that we all knew he was. And the defense has really stepped up, especially in the last few weeks. And again, Xavier Howard stepping up, being the leader. That big pick 6, I should say scoop and score he got that sealed the win for the Dolphins over the Ravens on Thursday night. They had 10 days to prepare. I know Brian Flores has a good game plan against the Jets. They should be able to win this game. No excuses. So Dolphins win. Bullock, go.
Yeah, the Dolphins, like you said, they're on a streak right now. I mean, I expect that to continue. I mean, because we all know the Jets are an absolute mess right now. So we'll wait and see how it goes. I mean, they need to. Yeah, there are some winnable games, but there are some some tough ones coming up. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But either way, I got Miami winning this one. So let's move on.
All right, and we move on to our next matchup, another early matchup here. Definitely a sleeper matchup right here. We got the New Orleans Saints squaring off against the Philadelphia Eagles, Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. On Fox, Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, and Shannon Spake. Philadelphia opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. Philadelphia leads the all-time series 17-12. They met last year in Philadelphia. Philadelphia won 24-21. Saints haven't won in Philadelphia since a wild card game in January of 2014. That was a 26-24 final. Last regular season win in Philly, 2009. Their Super Bowl year, 48-22. So not much more to say here. MF, New Orleans, and Philadelphia. Our next game this week. Both teams in the thick of the race, and whoever wins here will definitely be in a better position.
Oh, without a doubt. A lot of people didn't think Philly was going to be in this spot right now. Some people felt like New Orleans had an outside shot. But if Kamara plays and he continues to play at like he does, Trevor Simeon just doesn't have to do too much. Just be consistent, be a game manager. You're not looking to be the home run leader. You just have to be good enough. Let that defense hunt. Let them get after Jalen Hurts. If they do, I think New Orleans should win this game. But it is a different game because of the fact that Boston Scott's looking good. The Eagles are starting to fly on certain parts of the field. The defense is actually deceptively good. So there is a chance where the Eagles could actually steal this from New Orleans. Can they do it? You know what? I don't know. I kind of feel like New Orleans is just going to have enough weapons to get the job done. I'm going to go with New Orleans, but I'm not like as 1,000% convinced about this win. So, this is one of those, it's a 50-50. It could go either way. But I got New Orleans winning. Bullock, go.
Yeah, I got New Orleans winning this one as well, but I'm not totally convinced. Because part of me would not be surprised that if Philadelphia can keep it close going into the fourth quarter, they just may have a chance here. But I got New Orleans winning this one, so there's nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
All right. What to watch for here? If I can find it. Oh, come on, I just had it. All right. What to watch for here? The Eagles have had the league's best rushing attack over the last 3 weeks, averaging an impressive 209 yards a game. The Saints, meanwhile, boast the number one rush defense in the NFL. It's strength on strength. Making things even more interesting, Philadelphia running back Miles Sanders could very well be back in the lineup after a multi-week absence due to an ankle injury. Bold prediction, Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts' hot streak will end with 2 turnovers. The Saints' run defense is determined to make up for a rare flop in Philly last year when both Hurts and Sanders ran for more than 100 yards. The only 2 players to do so in the same game against the Saints since 2017. New Orleans is also determined to avoid its first 3-game losing streak since 2016. Stat to know, the Saints are allowing an NFL low 1.9 yards per zone read rush this season. The Eagles lead the NFL in zone read rushing yards, 510. For fantasy, Eagles receiver Devontae Smith isn't just the WR1 over the past 2 weeks, 45.2 fantasy points. He also ranks 3rd among all flex players over that stretch, trailing only Indy's Jonathan Taylor and Arizona's James Conner. Betting nugget, New Orleans is 4-0 against the spread and 3-1 outright as an underdog this season, and it is 9-1 against the spread and 8-2 outright in its past 10 games as an underdog. Slight favorite for New Orleans, 51% going with New Orleans. I'm going with New Orleans as well, although just like these guys, I'm not fully convinced either. But I'm going with New Orleans anyway. 24-20, New Orleans knocks off Philadelphia. So I believe we now move on to our final early game of the week. Zonk game of the week on our side of the ledger. The Houston Texans squaring off against the Tennessee Titans, Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee. And on the call for that one will be Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, and Cherie Burris. And Tennessee opening up as a 10-point favorite. And Tennessee leads the all-time series 21-17. Tennessee has won each of the last 3 meetings against Houston, including in Tennessee last year, a wild and crazy 42-36 overtime game in Nashville last year. Houston's last win in Nashville the year before, 2019, 24-21. Michael Bullock, shouldn't be a problem for Tennessee as they got the dud Texans coming in.
Yeah, this should not be a problem for Tennessee here going up against a Texans team that's horrible. So I got Tennessee winning this one in a rout here. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, it's our Zonk game of the week for a reason, and that's that reason. And what to watch for? The Titans offense, and especially the rushing attack, struggled the past 2 weeks against two of the NFL's toughest defenses. They'll look to get back on track this week against the Texans, who are allowing 136 rushing yards a game. One thing to keep an eye on is how the roles will continue to develop for the running backs. Deontay Foreman has been the best option so far, but Adrian Peterson has gotten the start in the last 2 games. Bold prediction, Houston receiver Brandon Cooks will have his first game with 100 receiving yards since week 3. Cooks was off to a great start with quarterback Tyrod Taylor, but after Taylor injured his left hamstring and was replaced by rookie quarterback Davis Mills, the offense struggled as a whole. Tomorrow, Cooks is facing a Titans team that has allowed an average of 267.9 passing yards a game, which ranks 27th in the NFL. In his last game against the Titans at the end of last season, Cooks had 166 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Stat to know, Adrian Peterson is 1 rushing touchdown away from tying Jim Brown for 10th on the all-time touchdowns list, 126. He is currently tied with Walter Payton for 11th. For fantasy, on a per-game basis, Tennessee quarterback Ryan Tannehill is QB6 over the past month, posting 3 top 12 finishes at the position over that stretch. Betting nugget, Houston has failed to cover each of its past 4 games. Biggest FPI favorite of the week, it's Tennessee, 83% going with Tennessee. I'm going with Tennessee, 34-10. Tennessee all over Houston. MF, Zonk game of the week. Wrap it up here for this.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans as well. I do believe they should be fine with Tannehill. They got the receiving weapons. The running back situation is a little bit of a downgrade, but they still can get the job done. There's really nothing more to add, Anthony. Let's start the late games.
And we move on to the game that comes in at number 3 on our side of the ledger. We have 3 late games, 1 4:05 game on CBS and 2 4:25 games on Fox. And we'll start it off with our 4:05 game on our side. It's our number 3 game of the week. And it will feature Cincinnati Bengals. Hey, I mean, you heard of New Orleans and Philly as the sleeper game on the other side. This is the sleeper game on our side. The Cincinnati Bengals squaring off against the Las Vegas Raiders from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada on CBS. And on the call for that one will be Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn. And Cincinnati opening up as only a 1-point favorite. 1-point spread for Cincinnati. Raiders lead the all-time series 19-11. Raiders won their last meeting 2 years ago. That was in Oakland, 17-10, snapping a 3-game losing streak to the Bengals. Bengals won at the Raiders last in 2015. That was a 33-13 final. So I believe this one goes to me to start. So, all right. What to watch for? Will the Raiders pass rush get after Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow? Las Vegas was shut out on the sack stat sheet for the first time this season last Sunday against the Chiefs. Last Sunday night against the Chiefs, rather. Though Raiders fans have lots of videos showing Max Crosby being held and mauled all night long. And Yannick Ngakoue had 2 sacks in 3 of his previous 4 games. Burrow, meanwhile, has already been sacked 25 times, 4 times fewer than league leader Ryan Tannehill of Tennessee. And the last time Crosby faced the Bengals as a rookie in 2019, he sacked their then quarterback Ryan Finley 4 times. Bold prediction, Raiders quarterback Derek Carr will throw for more than 350 passing yards. Las Vegas has one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL and will be forced to pass in order to move the ball against the Bengals. Cincinnati has struggled in defending short passes the last 2 weeks, and Carr is 15th in the league in air yards per attempt, according to NFL Next Gen stats. Stat to know, Bengals receiver Jamar Chase has been held under 50 receiving yards in back-to-back games. He had more than 50 in each of his first 7 games. For fantasy, the Bengals have produced a top 25 wide receiver every week this season, 5 times putting 2 of their receivers in the top 30 at the position for a given week. Betting nugget, overs are 11-2 at Allegiant Stadium since it opened last season, and 4 of Las Vegas's 5 home games have gone over the total this season. Slight favorite for Las Vegas, 49 49.9%, about 50%. This is basically a pick 'em here. It's a pick 'em game. But if I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of like Cincy in this one, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm going to take a chance here. I mean, this one literally can go either way. And this definitely will have playoff implications because both teams are, just like New Orleans and Philly, are in the thick of the NFC race. These two are definitely in the thick of it in the AFC race. 31-28, I'm going to go with Cincinnati to steal one at Allegiant Stadium. So there isn't much more to say. MF, something has got to give for these two teams who are very much in the thick of a crowded AFC playoff race.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is a very crowded AFC. This could go either way, though. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna agree with you, Florio. I think Cincinnati is gonna win, even though, look, the Raiders has had so many different moments this season, and I just feel like they've had good moments. They've lost this, that, blah 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 blah. Where Cincinnati, it's just been dumb luck for them. They've had some good games where they've looked really, really good, and then there's been moments where they're like, no, not so great. For me, I think Cincinnati's going to win it. I got nothing more to say. Yeah. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals as well. I mean, like you said, this is a game that could basically go either way, but I'm going to say by the slimmest of margins, I'm going to go with the Bengals here. So, nothing more to say, Florio. Let's move on.
And we move on. If my notes serve me correctly, yes, it does. We move on to the Fox side, and we are moving on to, without question, America's Game of the Week. And this will be over on Fox. Great matchup right here. This was maybe a possible Super Bowl preview. You never know. The Dallas Cowboys squaring off against the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, Missouri. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi. Kansas City opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. And Dallas leads the all-time series 7-4. Their last meeting was 2017 in Dallas. Dallas won 28-17. Last meeting in Kansas City, 2013. Kansas City won 17-16. Dallas's last win in Kansas City, I remember this game very vividly. It was 2009, 26-20 in overtime. The Miles Austin coming out party. Unfortunately, we have lost Bullock for the rest of the show. So MF and I will take over for the rest of the show. So I'm sure we'll have Bullock back with us tomorrow night for our Survivor Series recap. But anyways, I believe I started the last one. So this one goes to MF. So MF, here we go. Game of the week on the Fox side. The Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. But there is something that definitely needs to be addressed. Amari Cooper, he's out for Dallas. How's that going to affect the Cowboys going into Arrowhead?
That could be a major blow. That could be a major problem, no doubt. I think the way that we've seen so far this season, it's going to be really interesting. It looks like Kansas City maybe has figured it out. We don't know for sure. All we know is that going into it, there was a lot of concern. There was a lot of unknown. Did Kansas City really get out of it? And it looks like all of a sudden they might have turned it around. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, this has gotten very interesting. This is being a great game, great battle. Right now, I kind of have to say Kansas City's the slight favorite, even though Dak, Zeke, yes, there's no Amari Cooper, but there is a CD Lamb, and you got to watch out for him. And the Dallas D, how are they going to figure out, how are they going to try to stop Patrick Mahomes? Because a lot of teams have for the mostly the entire season, except last week. It looked like maybe, just maybe, Mahomes might have figured it out. And if he has, that's a bad news for the rest of the NFL. Because if he gets going, look out. that's going to be danger for everybody, because then Kansas City might be able to turn this whole thing around, and they might become that threat again to be the one of the favorites in the AFC again. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I kind of feel like Kansas City should win this because they are at home. And like you said, that Amari Cooper injury might be a devastating blow that might give them the opening that they need to do. So nothing more to say, Anthony. Kansas City probably wins this really tight, really close. So it's yours.
Yeah. What to watch for? The Chiefs have improved dramatically on defense during their 3-game winning streak. They're allowing only 12 points a game over this stretch, but they haven't played an opponent with the offensive firepower of the Cowboys. Dallas is the only team in the league in the top 5 in rushing and passing. Do the Chiefs have enough resources on defense to get the job done? Bold prediction, Dallas linebacker Michael Parsons will set the Cowboys single-season rookie record for sacks. He needs 3 against the Chiefs to break DeMarcus Ware's record of 8 in 2005. He has 6 on the year so far, including 3.5 in his last 2 games. The Cowboys will make him a matchup nightmare for the Kansas City offense. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes has been sacked 17 times this year, including 9 times at home. Stat to know, according to ESPN coverage metrics and NFL Next Gen stats, Mahomes has seen 2 high safeties at the NFL's highest rate, 61%. The Cowboys play 2 high safeties at the 6th lowest rate, 33%. For fantasy, a matchup of Week 10's top 2 quarterbacks could bring a lot of points. Last week was the 3rd time this season that they both finished as top 6 players at the position in the same week. Betting nugget, Kansas City is 0-5 against the spread at home this season, and Dallas is 4-0 against the spread on the road. Slight FPI favorite for Dallas, 50.3%. Just over 50% going with Dallas, which means 49.7 obviously going with Kansas City. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game. I got a feeling that KC's going to pull this one out. They're starting to get their mojo back, so I think KC pulls this one out. My final score, 30-26. The Kansas City Chiefs knock off the Dallas Cowboys in what should be a very fun and entertaining game at Arrowhead tomorrow afternoon. All right. I believe we have 3 games left, and we move on to the NFC West, and this is the first meeting for these two this season. Another equally good matchup over on the other 425 game, as it will feature the Arizona Cardinals squaring off against the Seattle Seahawks from Lumen Field in Seattle, formerly CenturyLink Field in Seattle. And on the call for that one will be, well, I actually don't have the announcers for that game because they didn't include them. But I would have to imagine, since I don't see Kenny Albert's name on here, I imagine that it will be the Kenny Albert crew, which would be Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Sarah Walsh. I believe they're calling this game. So Arizona opening up as a 1.5-point favorite, and Seattle leads the all-time series by only 1 game, 22-21 with a tie for Seattle. They split last year, but Seattle won at home, 28-21. Arizona's last win in Seattle was the year before, 2019, 27-13 win for Arizona. So, all right. What to watch for? Each team has big questions at the quarterback position. For Arizona, it's whether Kyler Murray will return from the ankle injury that sidelined him the last 2 games, and how dangerous of a runner he'll be if he does play. But if he doesn't return, can backup Colt McCoy lead the Cardinals to a win over Seattle like he did last season with the Giants? For the Seahawks, the question is whether Russell Wilson is truly back from finger surgery and the month-long layoff that followed. He was ineffective in his first game back, but said his finger wasn't the issue. Bold prediction, Murray will return and throw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns while running for another 2 scores. He is 5-9 with a 54.8 total QBR in 14 career starts against NFC West opponents, but he needs a big game to get the Cardinals back on track after last week's loss. Stat to know, the Seahawks rank second in the NFL in run-stop win rate, 33.4%, while the Cardinals rank third worst, 27.7%, but the Cardinals rank 8th in rush yards a game, while the Seahawks sit at 22nd. For fantasy, last week was the 6th time this season that either DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett finished a week ranked outside the top 45 receivers, and they both did it. Betting nugget, the under is 12-2 in Russell Wilson's last 14 starts. FPI, slight favorite for Arizona, 56.9%, 57%, going with Arizona. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals to win this game. I'm going to say 34-20. Arizona knocks off Seattle. So maybe 34-27, but nonetheless, I got Arizona winning this game. I think Kyler Murray will be back. I think he'll play, and I think he'll lead Arizona back. He'll lead Arizona back to the win column after that embarrassing loss to Carolina last week at home. So not much more to say. MF, big game in the West here for Arizona and Seattle. Seattle, we saw them against Green Bay last week. Yeah,
that was not good. Nope.
But Arizona, if Kyler Murray plays, I'm sure they'll be fine. But what if it is Colt McCoy again? Then what?
No, bad news. If Colt McCoy's the starter, Seattle wins. No ifs, no ands, no buts. I'm not even gonna make anything needs to be said. If Seattle, the only way Seattle wins is if Kyler Murray does not play. If Murray does not start and does not play, the Seahawks wins because Russell Wilson will figure it out. He had a week. He needed a week to figure it out. It was just a bad game. You went up against a really good defense. If Seattle is on all cylinders and Murray does not play, this is open and shut for me. Seattle will win this game tomorrow. So right now, I'm on the impression that Murray will not play, and I got the Seattle Seahawks. Now, if Murray does play, I'm with you. I go with Arizona. But I'm on the impression that Murray will not play tomorrow. But that's just my thoughts and mine alone. So Foil on the Sunday night.
Sunday Night Football on NBC. MF will start it off. It's our number 2 game of the week. Easily could have been the number 1, but this one comes in at number 2. Easily could have been our game, MF, but it's going to be a good one nonetheless. Number 2 game of the week, the Pittsburgh Steelers squaring off against the Los Angeles Chargers from the home of Super Bowl 56, SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California, on NBC. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya, as always. And the Chargers opening up as 5.5-point favorites. Pittsburgh, though, leads the all-time series in a big way, 23-8. Their last meeting was 2 years ago in LA. Pittsburgh won 24-17. The Chargers have not won at home against the Steelers since 2006 when they were the San Diego Chargers. That's when they had that great team in 06, that 14-2 team, when LaDainian Tomlinson was running circles around everybody. So that's the story there. So MF, Pittsburgh coming off a tie against Detroit, whereas the Chargers coming off a so-so performance against a ho-hum performance against Minnesota at home at SoFi. So here's another game, just like Cincinnati and Las Vegas. Here's another game that could definitely have playoff implications. Another two more teams right in the thick of that AFC race. Although these teams might be a little bit higher than Cincy and Vegas.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And this is going to be a very interesting matchup. But the thing is that is Ben Roethlisberger going to play? Because if Ben does not play, He cleared virus protocol. All right, so he's going to play. That's great. But now what are we going to see? I don't know, Anthony. Even with Big Ben playing, that might not be enough to get over the Chargers. Me personally, I think the LA Chargers is going to win this game. So give me the Chargers to win at SoFi. Upward and onward they go. So Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. What to watch for? The Chargers offense needs to be better. Quarterback Justin Herbert has 6 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions over his last 4 games. And he has completed fewer than 60% of his passes in 3 of those 4. He needs some help from receivers Mike Williams and Keenan Allen to get the offense going. The Steelers, meanwhile, well, this is obviously before the news. Could be starting Mason Rudolph or Ben Roethlisberger, but it's going to be Ben because he cleared virus protocol, so he's very likely to start. So the Chargers defense has to prepare for both of them. Bold prediction, Steelers running back Najee Harris and Chargers running back Austin Eckler will each gain 150 yards from scrimmage. Harris had a 100-yard rushing game against the Lions last week, but with a full week of Pittsburgh game planning for an unpredictable quarterback situation, he should be even more involved in the offense against the Chargers. Plus, the Chargers have the worst run defense in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Steelers' run defense was abysmal against the Lions and gave up 130 yards to DeAndre Swift. Eckler has struggled recently, but with the Steelers' defensive holes and inability to tackle right now, he could get back on track tomorrow night. Stats to know, the Chargers have allowed 30.8 points a game since week 5, second most in the NFL. They have also allowed 167.6 rush yards a game during that span, which is the most in the NFL. For fantasy, touchdowns drive the tight end position, and the best way to score is to get red zone looks. After seeing a total of 2 red zone targets in his first 5 games this season, Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth is averaging 2 per game over his last 4 outings. Betting nugget, all 3 of Pittsburgh's road games have gone under the total this season. FPI likes the Chargers in this one, 64.4% going with LA, 64% for the Chargers. I'm going with the Chargers to win as well. 34-21. Chargers knock off the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. 1 game left, Monday Night Football on ESPN. A matchup featuring the New York Giants squaring off against the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. On ESPN, of course, Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Louis Riddick, and Lisa Salters. But if you don't want to watch them and you want to watch the Manning brothers, you can do so. The Manning brothers will be back on ESPN too. You can catch them. Tampa Bay opening up as an 11-point favorite. The Giants, though, lead the all-time series 15-8. But Tampa Bay won the last meeting last year. Tampa Bay won in New York 25-23. But the Giants won the last meeting in Tampa the year before, 2019, 32-31. And Tampa Bay last beat the Giants at home in 2017, 25-23. So close games over the last few meetings. Last four games actually have been one score. So I will start off this final matchup. What to watch for? The Giants might be a double-digit underdog against the Bucs, but that worked out just fine last week for Washington. Going back to 2017, the last 4 games between these two teams have all been decided by 3 points or less, with last year's decided by 2. Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady is 5-3 against the Giants in his career, including the 2 Super Bowl losses, but he has won 3 straight against them since losing Super Bowl 46. Bold prediction, Buccaneers receiver Chris Godwin will catch 10-plus passes with a touchdown. The Giants are vulnerable out of the slot, where they are splitting time between second-year cornerback Darnay Holmes and rookie Aaron Robinson. They have 5th most yards, 863 out of the slot already this season. Godwin's 373 yards, meanwhile, is 8th best in the NFL. He's going to have a feast on Monday night. Stat to know, Tampa Bay receiver Mike Evans has 7 receiving touchdowns since week 5, most in the NFL, and he is looking to catch a touchdown in 4 straight games for the 3rd time in his career. For fantasy, Brady struggled last week and was QB 14. The last time he was that low was week 4, and he promptly reeled off 3 top 5 performances in his next 4 games. Betting nugget, New York has covered 3 straight games and is 19-5 against the spread as a road underdog over the last 4 seasons. The FPI likes Tampa Bay, 78.4%, 78% going with Tampa Bay. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I think it's going to be closer than you think, because the Giants have a tendency to hang around, and the last 4 games have been 3 points or less. You know what? I say that trend continues. 30-27. Tampa Bay barely gets by the Giants. They're going to hang around, but I think Tampa will do enough. They'll escape Raymond James on Monday night. So not much more to say. MF, Monday Night Football, Giants and Bucks take it home.
Yeah, and I'm totally in agreement here. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win this game as well. I think Brady is angry. He knows he had a bad performance. He knows he cannot let that happen again, and I think he won't. So I'm with you guys on this one. I think it's gonna be a tight game. I think it's gonna be an interesting matchup. But when it's all said and done, I do believe that when this thing is in the bag, I do believe that it's gonna be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the game. So there's really nothing for me to add here, Anthony. So let's just call it a night.
And that's what we'll do. That will put the bow on this Week 11 edition of NFL Saturday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow night, immediately following the Survivor Series over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, for our complete recap of the 35th annual Survivor Series. Who's going to get the bragging rights? Is it going to be me and Raw yet again? Or is MF and SmackDown finally going to get the bragging rights? We'll find out. One of us will have the bragging rights tomorrow night. We'll find out. Survivor Series recap show. Monday night, immediately following Raw. Of course, ridiculously Raw, right back here on the Tone 25. The Fallout. Monday Night Raw's Fallout from Survivor Series in the Barclays in Brooklyn. And in addition to that, I will also have my latest Tony's Take on Impact Wrestling 205 Live and the Turning Point special on Impact Plus, which I'm watching as we speak. So I'll have a review of that on Monday night. Tuesday night, get ready for this. 10:30 Tuesday night, our 10th annual Strictly Sports Football Feast. Oh, yeah. The college football week 13 of college football, rivalry week in college football. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. The game of the week, there's no doubt about it. Maybe the game of the year right now. Maybe the biggest game in the history of the rivalry. Ohio State, Michigan, maybe the biggest Ohio State-Michigan game maybe ever. Big Ten and college football playoff implications aplenty in that one. We'll get into that on Tuesday, along with all the other great rivalries. And in addition to those college football rivalry games for Week 13, we will also preview the 3 Thanksgiving games in the NFL. The Chicago Bears against the Detroit Lions, the Las Vegas Raiders against the Dallas Cowboys, and my Buffalo Bills against the New Orleans Saints. We'll get into that on Tuesday as well. Wednesday, we got Wednesday Night Mayhem, NXT 2.0, AEW Dynamite. We'll get into that on Wednesday. No show Thursday, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. Friday, I'm sure we'll be back with the Cerebral Smack Talk. Cerebral Smack Talk with MF. Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage. And then this program next week, Week 12, we'll get into the rest of the Sunday slate. And MF, I got to tell you, our side of the ledger looks pretty damn appetizing. And because we got so many tasty matchups, and how fitting Thanksgiving weekend that we got a smorgasbord of great games. We already got Vegas and Dallas and Buffalo and New Orleans on Thanksgiving. How about Pittsburgh against Cincinnati, Tennessee and New England, the Chargers against Denver, and Cleveland against Baltimore? All those games on our side of the ledger next week. Definitely gonna have a bit of a time figuring that order out, but I'll find a way. So that will be next Saturday, and there you go. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for our Survivor Series recap show over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. This is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, Dede Woodson, and always and forever the Yankee Messiah 401, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw the Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Sunday. And until tomorrow night for our Survivor Series recap, you've been watching Week 11 of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody. Bye.